You know that I love trying new things? Well, I just got a pet. This is Luna. Hello, Luna. Now, she doesn't like being held. Not your typical pet, I know, but how could you expect anything different from me? I do not say this lightly when I say I am completely convinced.
This little robot just became your kid's favorite.
I'm Dash. Of course I'm going to do a dance when you turn me on. I'm Dash. Of course I know how to count by tens when moving forward. I'm Dash. Of course I have awesome accessories.
Here's everything new with the Sphero Bolt Plus.
Oh gosh, do you know back room?
Yo, driver! One.
I'm a chick.
Devast, really?
No me aguanto la más de nada, más si vienes a mi cama. A mi cama. No me aguanto.
Let's get to 51,000 subs, shall we?
A kid pointed at my crossed eyes and screamed. My friend and I were. A kid pointed at my crossed eyes and screamed, "If anything hits you right now, they'll stick like that forever." I laughed and shook my head because I was determined to keep my reputation as the funniest class clown in school history. So I responded with, "Nah," and I smacked myself upside the head to prove him wrong. Except when I tried to uncross them, it didn't work. Wait a second. I was about to run to the bathroom when Miss Lally walked in, and my heart started pounding with adrenaline because last time I saw her, she told me if I made another joke, she'd expel me. She set her bag down slowly. "We are not doing this today. Fix your face, now." The entire class were biting their nails to see what would happen next, and I felt my throat close with anxiety. I can't. My eyes won't uncross. I started crying uncontrollably because the one time I wasn't joking, it looked like I was trying my best material. Then she held up her phone. "Uncross them now, or I call the principal and you're gone." The same kid from earlier shot out of his seat. "He's not faking. My mom says there's no..." She pointed at his chair without looking. "Your mom is not a doctor. Sit." Then she dialed, and I buried my head in my hands. I needed the ambulance, not the principal. He stormed in. "What is going on here?" Miss Lally pointed at my face. "He's trying to be funny again." I tore my hair out in frustration. A kid pointed the same way you them. She rolled her eyes. "Yes, he can, and I'm going to prove it." She leaned down into my face, crossed her eyes, and said, "Watch. I'm going to hit myself the same way you did, and uncross right after." The entire room, including me, watched with our eyes wide open. When her eyes were crossed, she blinked hard, and rubbed them, and blinked again, then grabbed his arm and screamed the sentence she'd threatened to expel me over. "My eyes won't uncross." The principal looked from her face to mine and said, "Miss Lally, fix your face." She'd hit herself with her eyes crossed to prove the rule was fake, and it caught her exactly like it caught me. The same kid stood on his chair and pointed at both of us. My mom is never wrong. For the first time all year, nobody thought I was joking. 2 years later, me and Miss Lally are both still cross-eyed because that kid's mom was right. Forever means forever. My friend and I were about to take our seats at the sumo match when a staff member grabbed my arm. "You're up next. Why aren't you dressed?" My heart dropped, because I've been bullied all my life for my size, and now I was being mistaken for a sumo wrestler. "Sir, I think you've got the wrong," but my friend cut in, pointing right at me. "Yeah, that's your guy. Let's get him ready." My jaw dropped. He'd set me up, and before I could argue, the staff member dragged me backstage while I mumbled a prayer, hoping I'd survive. They shoved me into a mawashi, the giant diaper-looking belt, and pushed me toward the ring. That's when he stepped out of the shadows. My opponent was two of me stacked together, thighs thicker than my whole body, and my stomach dropped. I grabbed my friend's shirt. "I can't do this, bro. I know I'm fat, but he's built different." He gripped my shoulders. "Dude, have a little confidence for once." Then he shoved me in, and the crowd roared as the sumo cracked his neck and locked eyes with me. A bell rang, and he charged, slamming into me so hard the air left my lungs, then grabbed my belt and shoved me toward the edge. My feet slid across the clay, and then he lifted me off my feet and slammed me onto my back. Pain shot up my spine as the crowd gasped. I lay there staring up at his belly rolls as he raised his body to finish me. My whole body froze, and so did my friend. I thought I was about to die with a naked man on top of me, but I couldn't let that happen. So right as he came down, I braced my legs out of fear and shoved into him with everything I had. When I opened my eyes, the sumo was flat on his back outside the ring, and the crowd went berserk. I'd won, and my friend sprinted out screaming. For the first time in my life, people were cheering for the thing I'd been bullied for, and my size had made me a hero. But before I could soak it in, a fat man shoved through the crowd and pointed at me. "I'm the real wrestler. Who is this imposter?" The staff pushed me out of the ring as the real wrestler took his place. But I stayed smiling, because they took my win, but they gave me my confidence. My friend and I were about to take our seats at the sumo match when I had only taken 3 steps into the abandoned house when the door slammed behind me and a horrifying figure appeared at the top of the stairs. I covered a scream before it could leave my mouth and ducked behind a piano in the entry hall. I had doubted everyone who had ever claimed to have seen the woman in white walking the halls of this crumbling house. Now I was meeting her face to face. I peeked over the piano. As soon as I did, she spotted me and started moving down the steps. The legend said that if you just stood your ground, she wouldn't go further than the staircase. Working against every instinct I had, I stood up from behind the piano to face the woman in white. We locked eyes as she hit the bottom step. My guts were twisting in fear. Then she raised a long, bony finger and said, "You've come back to me." Then she took another step. She was past the staircase and coming toward me. I bolted from my spot and tried the door. It wouldn't budge. She was still slowly moving towards me, so I ran into a side room. It was a dead end. The woman in white walked into the entryway and said again, "You've come back to me." I was cornered, my body locked up in terror. As she approached me, she stretched out her hand. This is it, I thought. Killed by a ghost I didn't even believe in. I felt the dusty cold palm touch my face. Just then, every room in the house lit up and I screamed for my life. I was alive, and there was a young woman standing in the doorway with her hand on the light switch. "What the hell did you do to my mom?" she shouted at me. I looked down. The woman in white was laying at my feet. This wasn't a ghost. This was a human woman, but she wasn't breathing. She was stone dead. The younger woman walked closer before stopping cold in her tracks. She looked me up and down. You look just like my father." She pulled a picture off the wall and held it up to me. It was like looking in the mirror. "He died at war, and after my mother got Alzheimer's, she wandered the house in her wedding dress, waiting for him to come back to her. She's been hanging on in misery for so many years. I think touching you helped her finally move on. Now you've given her peace." I walked out of that house still not believing in ghosts, but maybe believing in fate. I had only taken 3. I unzipped my dad's suitcase from the inside and quietly climbed out, all while he had his back turned and had no idea I was here. 12 hours ago, he'd told me and Mom he was going on a work trip for a few days, but his voice sounded strange, so I snuck into his suitcase while he slept and stayed there all night to find out what he was actually doing. He placed the suitcase with me inside down somewhere, then grunted about how heavy it was and walked away. I climbed out, and my jaw dropped as my feet hit the ground of a cabin, and I realized I was on a cruise. Dad was on the deck, laughing with his friends, and I covered my mouth in shock. I ran towards him. "Dad!" He spit his drink out. "Son, what are you doing here? I hid in your suitcase." I instantly pulled out my phone and took a selfie. I was about to post about how I snuck on Dad's cruise when his friends ripped my phone away. "No, we told our wives we're on a work trip. If your friends see this cruise on your story, we're cooked." They slid me $100 each to not tell anyone, and I instantly Okay, I took my phone back, but only if you get me a lounge chair. The four of them instantly brought a lounge chair over. Now fan me. I laid down and pointed at the giant leaves. My dad shook his head, but I just held my thumb over the FaceTime mom button. They all instantly started fanning. By evening, I'd blackmailed $800, and Dad was personally feeding me grapes in the lounge chair while angrily muttering something about getting rid of me. I told him if he tries anything, I'll be snitching. But the next morning, I heard voices from the cabin. I walked in and saw the four of them playing poker. My eyes widened, and I instantly yelled, "Dad, you promised Mom you'd never play poker again." He face-palmed. "I'm not even playing for real money, son." But I was already snapping pictures. "I need $750 and your car keys. I want your car when we're home, or I'm showing this to Mom and saying you played for money." I showed him the photos that looked like real gambling. That's when he stood up and slammed his hands on the table. But suddenly the ship honked. "First stop." Dad's face lit up. "Actually, son, come with me." I followed him confused to the deck where people were getting off. Dad pointed at the antique store on the pier. "Can you go buy us all one blue and one white shellfish each? If you do, I'll give you a $1,000 total." I looked at him and screamed, "Hell yeah, I can." I ran down into the antique store and 15 minutes later walked out with 8 shellfish, ready to collect my $1,000. But that's when my jaw dropped. The cruise ship was already sailing away, while Dad and his friends waved at me from the deck, grinning. They were leaving me in Timbuktu with no way to get home. I unzipped my when the doctor told me I had lung cancer and a less 5% chance of survival. I wanted nothing more than for my wife to hold me. But when I drove home and told her, she went quiet before standing up and saying, "I'm sorry, I can't do this." She walked out of the house, and I sat there shell-shocked. I went to call her and ask if she was serious, but she'd already blocked my number. I spent the next week getting sick in the bathroom all alone when suddenly my doorbell rang. I opened it with the taste of vomit still in my mouth and saw a man in a suit. "I'm representing your wife in the divorce." He gave me divorce papers, and as I looked through, I realized my wife wanted the house, the car, and all our savings, arguing she needed them more anyway. I cried all night, trying to accept I was going to die, but then I saw my wife kissing another man on social media and decided to fight. But during my first chemo session, my wife walked in with her lawyer. She slid a pen and papers. "I just need you to sign this, honey. Easier to do it now than when you're too weak to lift the pen." It was the first time I'd seen her since. I went home feeling nauseous, but when I twisted the key, it wouldn't work. That's when my wife looked out from the upstairs window. "This house is technically in my name. I changed the locks." She threw boxes of my things outside the window. I cried and yelled, "I'm sick. I have nowhere to go." But she just shrugged. "That's not my problem." I walked to a homeless shelter with as many boxes as I could, throwing up along the way, and court came around. I was in chemo going bald. She took everything and left me to die, but I didn't. My numbers climbed, and I kept a picture of her beside me at every chemo session. Because I hated her so much, I wanted to live just to spite her. 2 years later, I was cancer-free and got the keys to my own apartment. It was tiny and crammed, but I'd made it. But 3 months later, I came home and saw her in my apartment, hanging photos of us on the walls like she lived here. She smiled at me and my stomach turned. "I've been thinking, we should try again." I didn't even know what to say, but she brought her face inches to mine. "My new husband cheated on me and I have nowhere to go. I know I made mistakes, but everyone deserves a second chance." She leaned to kiss me, and I instantly backed away. "Are you insane? Get out." I ushered her out the door. She broke down crying, "You can't kick me out when I'm at my lowest." But I laughed. "That's literally what you did." Her jaw dropped as I slammed the door and took down all the photos. I hope she gets cancer. When the doctor, me and my friends were setting up our senior prank when my friend poked me. "Dude, if we get caught, we don't even graduate, and this just looks like a pile of trash." I pointed at my boy Cole. He said it would look better from above. We gotta trust him. And before he could say anything else, the principal rounded the corner and locked eyes on us. "You just threw your graduation away. Every one of you." We all panicked, but Cole was already digging in his pocket, pressing a piece of bubblegum into each of our hands. "Chew it. Trust me." There was nowhere left to run, so I crammed it in my mouth and chewed. Now blow a bubble, Cole said, and blew a fat pink one of his own. I blew one without knowing why, and the roof dropped away under my feet. The principal pointed at us, not even knowing how to react. As we rose, the pile of junk finally started taking shape, and I saw the prank. It was the principal's grinning face, stretched across the whole roof. Cole drifted up beside me with his hands still in his pockets. The principal screamed, "It's just gum! It shouldn't be able to do this!" Cole grabbed the bubble gum out of his mouth and held it while he talked. I planned this entire thing. Now we can see the prank properly. Do you like it? I nodded, and he grinned. Knew it. I'm the goat. Now for my final trick. Cole threw a piece of gum down at the principal's feet. Prove it's just gum then. The principal grabbed it and jammed it in his mouth. It's just gum. But as soon as he blew a bubble, he shot straight up in the sky, arms windmilling, yelling for someone to call the cops. The parking lot filled with students. Every phone pointed up at the principal, turning slow circles above his own giant grinning face. Me and my friends, I stepped onto the stage at a game show, and the host pointed at 2 ropes hanging off a 50-foot tower. The first person to climb and ring the bell wins $50,000. The gym rat next to me looked me up and down and flexed his muscles. Get ready to lose, Van Guy. I grit my teeth because I was tired of people calling me that. I looked at my daughter sitting in the audience, then turned back to him. I will win this, and when I do, my daughter and I won't have to live in a van anymore. He started laughing. Haha, keep dreaming. I ignored him and dug my hands into the chalk bucket to chalk up, but he kicked the bucket away. Chalk is for people who don't have guts. I rolled my eyes and grabbed the rope. Ready when you are. The buzzer fired and he rocketed up the rope like it owed him money. I started hand over hand, yelling up that he'd burn out, but he was already at the halfway mark. Then he stopped. I asked if something was wrong, but he hung off one arm and started blowing kisses at the drone cameras. He even looked down and smirked. You still down there, Van Guy? Don't fall too hard. Keep posing and you'll lose, I yelled back through my teeth and kept pulling. But then one of my hands slipped and I screamed, no. Suddenly I was hanging by one arm, legs kicking at nothing, and the whole crowd gasped. Above me, the gym rat started cackling. I told you not to fall too hard. I made the mistake of looking down, and my fingers started sliding further down. But then I looked into the crowd and saw her. My daughter was standing on her seat and screaming, "Come on, Daddy!" My heart banged against my chest again. I pictured her sleeping in that van one more night and grit my teeth again. Then I wiped my bare hand across my chalked one and slammed it back onto the rope. I started climbing again, faster than before, and someone in the crowd pointed and yelled, "That guy is still climbing!" The gym rat's smile dropped when he realized he was losing the crowd. So he kicked one leg out and loosened his grip for a no-hands finisher to win the crowd back. But this time his grip slipped mid-pose. Suddenly he was swinging uncontrollably, clawing at the rope and screaming, "The rope's sweaty! It's the rope!" I pulled level with him, looked at his bare hands and said, "You should have chalked up." His grip gave out and he slid all the way down screaming, "No way I lost to the van guy." I calmly climbed to the top and rang the bell, winning $50,000 on the spot. My daughter ran up and hugged me, so I knelt down and gave her the cash. Let's go buy an apartment for you. I stepped on. The flag dropped down, and I slammed the accelerator, chasing the F1 title I'd wanted my whole life. My hands gripped the wheel as I won the first lap in first, but during my pit stop, one of my crew changed my wheels way slower than usual, almost like they wanted me to lose. I got annoyed and sped off, but I'd already dropped to second. My eyes caught the crowd as I came round the bend and my stomach dropped. The seat I'd reserved for my daughter was empty. She was too scared to ever watch me race, so she'd never once seen me do what I loved. I tried to just focus on the driving, but every pit stop I had, the same crew member worked my wheel change slower than last time, while I screamed into my helmet and watched the leaders pull away. A few laps from the end, I finally caught the leader, but as I went for the pass, he swerved into me. Our wheels locked together, and we drove the whole lap with our F1s pressed against each other. But then I felt the wheel my crew member had changed twitch like it was about to go flying. My body went cold, and I thought about my daughter's empty seat in the crowd. How if I was about to crash into a barrier and she'd never see me again? But then his tire broke loose. He speared into the barrier, and his car erupted in flames as I floored it. And suddenly I was back out front. I screamed into my radio, "One more clean pit stop, and the title we've been chasing for 10 years is ours." I flew into the pit on the final lap, 17 seconds ahead of second place, and immediately started shaking my head. That same slow crew member dropped my wheel and fully froze. They grabbed onto the car and wouldn't let me drive off. My crew screamed and clawed them off while I punched my wheel because 25 seconds had bled away. I finally launched out, but I was now third. I crossed the line and lost the title by just 3 seconds. Exactly what the pit stop cost me. I watched the winner pop champagne, then tore off my helmet and stormed to my pit, my fists clenched, ready to end whoever just threw away my career. The rest of my crew were already surrounding the slow member, shaking their heads. But that crew member took off towards me the seconds they saw me. They threw off their helmet, and my world stopped. It was my daughter. She threw herself into me, sobbing, "I'm sorry, Daddy. I know you wanted the win, but I went slowly to stop you. I was too scared to watch you die. You can't race anymore." My whole crew looked shocked as I held her, not knowing what to say. "How did you even get in my pit?" She told me she'd bribed one of my crew members with my second place prize winnings from my last tournament. The flag dropped. I wrote, "Tell Mom I loved her." The flag dropped down, and I slammed the accelerator, chasing the F1 title I'd wanted my whole life. My hands gripped the wheel as I won the first lap in first, but during my pit stop, one of my crew changed my wheels way slower than usual, almost. I wrote, "Tell Mom I loved her," in my best shaky handwriting, and left the note on my pillow, my hands still shaking from thinking about the drill sound from my last cavity filling. My dentist appointment was in an hour, and faking my own death seemed like a better